You know what I'm saying?
Before we start, anybody see the workout video CD Lamb posted? Like he trying to get off the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, he do that shit every year, bro.
That shit was sloppy.
It look, and like the dude he trained with, I'd be like, bro, stop training with him, bro. Like that shit.
that shit did not look good.
Yeah, I mean, like he a baller, but like don't post that shit, bro. Post something else, or like don't post it at all, bro. Just show that you working. Show the walk up to the field.
Stop.
Don't show the actual workout, bro.
Show the walk up to the field.
Yeah, bro.
Don't show actually what you do on the field. Just show the walk up.
Yeah, him and Zeke videos blow this shit up, bro. Like Zeke videos is worse. Like I'd be like, nigga.
It's like, boy, who are you going past like this? Like,
yeah. And he don't do that shit. He don't do none of that shit in the game.
He don't do it in the season.
That's something you gotta ask him, because what the hell? Like, maybe he was just trolling or some shit. I don't know. I gotta see it though.
That could be true, but nah. Greg Ward be working with Cuz cool, bro. Like that nigga. These trainers, bro. If you're not an NFL receiver, you can't train me, cuz all that other shit you be doing. Footwork King cool though. I fuck with him. Everybody else, they can go. Get up out of here.
Niggas be hating on his own, man, bro. Let's go ahead and get this guy down.
I ain't no hater, bro. I just want you to be great. You know what I'm saying?
All right, here we go, man.
Chop it down. Chop it down. Chop it down. You gon' chop it down. Chop it down. You gon' chop it down.
I just appreciate everybody watching.
Watch him throw the ball. We gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through 4th and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Dive.
Welcome back to another episode of the Trap or Die podcast, provided to you by 214 Media. I am your host, Mual, Coach Mual, here with the fellas. Dre, ooh, my bad, Dakota. You gotta watch yourself. I'm here with Dre, AJ, Nick. It is a crossover show, man. Nick from the Trap or Dive, all 32 side. You know what time it is, man. So, we are here to break down the NFC East, or give it a preview in essence. So, before we get started checking with the guys, man, whichever way you are listening or watching, make sure you rate and review or like the show. If you are new to Trap or Dive, make sure you are subscribed on YouTube. Helps the show grow. It is truly appreciated. Also, 2 film sessions came out over the last couple of days. Cole Turner and Sam Cosmi. If you have not watched them Jones yet, go ahead and check them out. They are on the YouTube channel and all that good stuff. So again, like I said, we are doing the NFC East breakdown. The fellas are here. Dre, how you feeling? AJ, how you feeling? Nick, how y'all feeling? Going in order, I guess, that way.
Yeah, like I was telling y'all before the show, man, I'm just happy to be back. Had a little COVID experience. Shoot, man. Now we here, man, talking football again. We almost actually at football season, so I'm feeling even better.
With that Undertaker gift, Dre, you need that. A little jump
I know, yeah. Came out the coffin on the ass, you know what I'm saying?
AJ, how you feeling?
Man, just like Dre, man, we almost there, 2 weeks away from training camps opening across the league. Just got back from Montreal from Benjamin St. Juice football camp out there, which was an amazing turnout. Glad to be back and start talking some Commanders football with my guys. And I guess we got a Dallas Cowboys fan on tonight, unfortunately. So we'll see how that goes.
Nick, how you feeling, dog?
Man, I'm Gucci, bro. USFL is over with, so that gave me a little break. You know what I'm saying? Gave me a little football until real football starts. So I'm Gucci, bro.
That was a good game, a good championship game.
I'm trying to tell you, bro, the USFL is a decent product. You know what I'm saying? They need a couple more names, but they all right, bro. But real football around the corner. My boys, you know what I'm saying? We go to camp. We out Cali. You know how we do our Oxnard. So
area.
I ain't gonna be there, but you know what I'm saying? Jerry called me, asked me. I was like, I can't do it this year. So, you know what I'm saying? We out here.
Said you gonna pass on them boys this year, man.
Yeah.
You saw them drills and said it ain't worth your time.
Yeah, I got to see that.
Drills,
When they come back to to the star, I'll check them out. But right now, they gotta get some kinks out real quick. You know what I'm saying? We Gucci.
What you gonna teach him? You ain't gonna teach him shit.
Don't talk to me, Ma. But
All right, hey, let's go ahead and get into this whole breakdown, man. So, this is the Trap or Die version, man. Let's go ahead and circle these things and start down the line. Down the line. So, we're gonna start with the New York Giants. This is an open floor for whoever wants to take these things, but obviously the New York Giants is bringing in Brian Daboll and a general manager and Joe Schoen. I think he came from Buffalo as well, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. I'm over
Yeah,
here.
they're both from Buffalo. Yeah, they're both
Yeah,
from
you
Buffalo.
saved me some time. I'm over here looking at and see where he came from. Yeah, so Brian Daboll came through. I think he's a 46-year-old head coach, man. In 2021, the man led Buffalo, helped lead Buffalo, or at least on the offensive side, to their second straight AFC title, AFC East title with an 11-6 record. Offensively, the Bills finished third in the NFL with 28 points a game, fifth with 381 yards per game. And Josh Allen was the star of that offense, obviously, for a ton of reasons. He was sixth in the league with the franchise record, 409 completions, seventh with 36 touchdown passes, and eighth with 4,400 yards. Fellas, their transactions, I think, let me go ahead and pull them things up. Oh, here we go. Some of their key transactions, let's see who they ended up getting. Not draft related. I think their biggest items was actually through the draft, but in terms of free agency, the biggest thing that they did really sign Ricky Seals-Jones from Washington, declined Daniel Jones' fifth-year option, but extended Dexter Lawrence fifth-year option, and obviously, I think it was another player that I'm missing. Offensively, I think they ended up.
Yeah, they added Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm thinking of the backup. In the draft, one of their big signings was obviously, or two of their big signings was Evan Neal, the tackle, and Kayvon Thibodeau. So the floor is yours, man. How do you all see the Giants faring? And when we talk about NFC East previews, just how they're stacking up within the teams themselves, within the division itself, but roster-wise, do you see them competing, being a threat to, for us, Dre, AJ, the Washington Commanders, and obviously Nick, the Dallas Cowboys? How do you all see the New York Giants faring in this division?
I mean, I think for the Giants, it just really boils down to how they operate everything offensively. I think right now it's not being looked at as a quarterback competition between Daniel Jones and Tyrod Taylor. But, depending on how things play out training camp-wise, preseason, Tyrod could easily come in there and start week one as the quarterback. And it's not like New York has a lack of weapons. They have weapons offensively. They just drafted Kadarius Toney last year, who they didn't get to utilize due to the poor offensive scheme that they had in place with their previous regime. They still got Galladay. They got other guys over there. I'm trying to remember the other wide receiver.
Sterling Shepard.
Yeah, Sterling Shepard. Then they got another guy. So they have like some depth at wide receiver. Saquon's going to be coming back. On the defensive side of the ball, they kept their defensive coordinator. They added, Kayvon Thibodeau, who should give them a boost in the pass rushing game. On the back end, that's where, they're very depleted. They got rid of Logan Ryan. They got rid of James Bradbury. They also lost Jabril Peppers. If I'm not mistaken, they're bringing back Adoree Jackson. I don't know who the other corner is opposite him. But I feel like they could still make some waves. It just really boils down to what type of offense are they going to run. I think sometimes in the NFL, these offensive coordinators get a lot of credit for guys that can create on the fly. Josh Allen is one of those quarterbacks where he can create on the fly. So you really don't know if the offensive scheme is really what's doing it, or is it the player extending plays and making things happen on the fly. I think that would be the telling story about Brian Daboll and, what he can get accomplished as far as a play caller and now being the head guy. But I think they could. I don't think they're going to be like the worst team in the league. I think they still have a roster that can be competitive against any type of team in the league. It's just going to be a 50-50 look every time they play in the beginning of the season.
So you're saying essentially in that mediocre phase, like they're the league average, so they can beat some teams and then they can lose to those same teams that they can potentially beat. So I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback off of AJ, I mean, but the Giants are probably in that predicament right now. But I do think there's at least a good future for them. Well, on paper, I mean, you got a new GM. You got rid of Dave Gettleman last year, who I thought was atrocious as a GM. Joe Judge was a mess at coach. I was kind of hoping the Giants would keep him for another year, but we'll see what Brian Daboll can do. Because as AJ said, I mean, we don't know how much of it was Josh Allen in that system in Buffalo, and how much of it was Brian Daboll. But I do have to say, you have to give a little bit of credit to Daboll because he was there for the whole development of Josh Allen. He was there from rookie year struggling Josh Allen to what Josh Allen has become now. So he probably does deserve a little bit of credit for his development and helping him with the scheme. But so that's going to lead to the elephant in the room with the Giants. Now, I mean, you have Daniel Jones, who's going on his fourth year, who has been pretty erratic, and he hasn't looked like a top 10 pick that he was in the 2019 draft. I mean, it was a weak quarterback draft, but he's still, he's up and down. I think we probably is a team that he looks best against every year. So, you want to see him put together consistent stretches of good football, and that's what Brian Daboll is supposedly brought in there for. They want to see if, he's that quarterback whisperer as he was with Josh Allen, or at least that he's getting the credit for. So Daniel Jones, that's pretty much what hinges on how competitive are the Giants, is how good is he. I mean, they start to try to revamp their offensive line. They drafted Evan Neal, who was a pretty good tackle prospect in college. So, that's one piece. And they still got the guy that they drafted a couple of years ago, I believe, Andrew Thomas. So they have some pieces on the offensive line. The pass rush should be improved with Kayvon Thibodeau. I know they got rid of James Bradbury this past offseason. So we'll see how the defense stacks up. But as of right now, I mean, compared to the rest of the NFC East, I see them as the fourth best team.
Nick, where you at with it?
I see them boys fighting for a ceiling in third place coming up this year. I just looked at their roster. Seen a lot better, seen a lot worse, but they're back in. I don't know who they're going to stop, bro. Like they got a rookie, a couple. I never seen these names there in my life except for Adore Jackson. So and then our division, we got a lot of good receivers. I wouldn't say a lot. We do have a lot of good receivers now, with the Eagles getting receivers. Commanders got some boys. We always got a couple on deck. So they may be able to score, but I don't see them stopping anybody. And you got to get some type of stops in the league, you know what I'm saying, to win a couple games. So they might give up like 30 a game, bro, because it ain't looking good. But yeah, definitely fighting for third, but most likely they'll be last in the division for sure.
For me, it comes down to Daniel Jones and the transactions that I noted that. They declined his fifth-year option. I think that's one of the more important things when we talk about the Giants is understanding that they immediately put that pressure on Daniel Jones, not from a perspective of it's only on him and that he has all the weight on his shoulders, but it's a business perspective too. Like, we're not going to fully commit to you. We believe in you, but we're not going to financially commit to you until you can show us with this 1 year that, especially with Brian Daboll and his ability to improve quarterbacks and improve offenses over time, that he believes in what he's seeing in this 1 year that he has with you, at least this 1 year contractually that he has with you. And I think with Dre, when you mentioned the how Daniel Jones plays against the Commanders, it's a symbolism or just something like a glimpse of what he could bring to their offense. And it's not just the Commanders is the present team, like that one that he faces the most, but he's had flashes throughout his career in which he's played good games. And I don't think it's been. I think it's been like a 10% showing, like out of 100% of full scale. Like it hasn't been a lot, but you see those glimpses from Daniel Jones, and I think that's what they're hoping on. And I say all this to say, while the defense lost some on the back end, as you all AJ and Nick mentioned. In that same vein, I don't think that they're really focused on that back end right now. I think that they understand that these are situations, especially the Giants, like given the circumstances, they're not expected to compete year one with Daboll and that new GM. They're not expected to compete. So why fully commit to some of these veteran players when you can kind of rebuild through the draft on that side of the ball? Offensively, you have everything you need to start with. I'm not saying it's a perfect offense or a top 10 offense or anything, but you have everything you need to start with. You have him in this 2022 season. You have Galladay, obviously one of the top, coming out as a free agent, one of the top tier receivers, and then Sterling Shepard. You lose Evan Ingram, but I guess it's a give and take because there's mixed reviews from people within the Giant community saying that he wasn't really much to brag about anyway. But I say all that to say, it comes back to Daniel Jones. Like, what can he provide for this team? And if you can get any type of consistency out of Daniel Jones, you're looking at probably you're not looking at a playoff team, but you're looking at a team who can compete 7 to 8 wins. And so what Nick alluded to, fighting for third place, but depending on how this season's going, 7 or 8 wins may even get you in second place in this division this year. And we'll see where that goes, or maybe tied for second. I don't know. We'll see how that goes, but I'm seeing 7 to 8 wins. If Daniel Jones can provide some consistency this year, and that's still not saying much. Again, it's a losing record, it's a losing team, but that's their ceiling for me. If you can get some type of production, consistent production from Daniel Jones, and that's what I think it all comes down to, fellas.
Yeah, I would be cool with Tyrod winning the starting job though. I just know what Tyrod does. Doesn't really put up points, doesn't take chances. So if Tyrod can win the starting job, bro, that's my guy, man. So hopefully he does his thing.
How much does that change Daboll's or the Bills' offense in general? Because I feel like Tyrod is a guy like he's a safe quarterback, but I just never found that. I never had faith that he can win us a game. Like if I'm a fan of the team that he's on, like win us a game with his arm. I think that he was the safer quarterback, as you mentioned. And I don't know. I mean, as a backup, okay, cool. But do you really want to start out the gate with Tyrod?
I mean, I guess it's hard not to be biased because, I mean, that's my guy in real life. So, but I mean, I think when you look at Tyrod's situations that he's been quarterback, like the starting quarterback, he's never really played with a number one wide receiver, like truly a number one wide receiver. His first opportunity to do so was with San Diego, or I guess LA Chargers, if you want to say. And then you had the puncturing of his lung. He was going to get to play with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. So people say he's not a quarterback that puts the ball downfield or whatever, but who the fuck has he played with to go downfield with? In Buffalo, he had a Sammy Watkins, but Sammy Watkins was often hurt. In Cleveland, he didn't have anybody. In Houston, he had nobody for real. I mean, he had Brandon Cooks, but you're talking about a team that, just has been drafting in the top 5 for the past couple years or whatever. I just think with some offensive coordinators, they like a guy that could kind of be like a game manager, play it safe and not turn over the ball. And that's one of the hiccups with Daniel Jones. I think he leads the league in turnovers since he's entered, since he's been in the league, whether it be interceptions or fumbles. So that's where I think Tyrod could possibly end up winning the job, because he actually plays safer with the ball and still provides him the opportunity to get creative outside of the pocket with his athleticism.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But I guess your point is, real quick, you were asking if would you start out the gate with Tyrod over Daniel Jones? I mean, shit, Daniel Jones don't have an option. He don't have a 5th-year option. So it's like you ain't really losing anything. You know what this guy can do. Would you rather lose your team completely altogether, or would you rather, try something new? Because there's really no tie for Brian Daboll to have to put, Daniel Jones out there. That's not his guy.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of can't go. You can't. Not, I want to say bench him, but you kind of could you go back to Daniel Jones after starting Tyrod though? Like, say Tyrod doesn't work out, but can you go back to Daniel Jones? Like, hey, it's kind of like not Baker.
Technically, Nick, you can. I know you don't deal with that in Dallas, but Washington has done it. Hey, we've played the musical chair thing 1,000 times. Technically, you can go back to Daniel Jones if you don't see things working out, but it's messy. It's very messy.
Was Daniel Jones benched for Jake Fromm, or was he hurt?
I think he was hurt.
He was hurt. He was hurt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was hurt a couple times last season. Okay, so let's go ahead and transition to the big dogs of the offseason. The Philadelphia Eagles in this division, man. They have been active, very active. Look, where we start. They signed Fletcher Cox to a 1-year deal. They ended up snagging Hassan Reddick to a 3-year deal. Obviously signed Jason Kelce as well to a 1-year contract. They re-signed Derek Barnett, Anthony Harris. They ended up signing Zach Pascal from Indy on a 1-year deal. Obviously drafted Jordan Davis and Nakobe Dean from the Georgia Bulldogs. Traded for goddamn AJ Brown. I know James Bradbury signed to a 1-year deal. 1-year contract. It's been a lot. It's been a lot, and these guys, it's all but said. Like if Vince Young was around, he would have donned these guys. What do you call it? The dream team. That's what he would have donned these guys, and I think that's what a lot. I wouldn't say a lot of people are expecting out of them, but I think a lot of people are anticipating a bigger season because of how often their name was mentioned this offseason in terms of an acquisition. So, fellas, the floor is yours. What are we seeing from the Philadelphia Eagles in this division, the NFC East? How are they stacking up with these teams?
Well, I'll go first. The Eagles, they probably have the best overall roster when you look at their roster, especially what they've done this offseason on both sides of the football. But the biggest thing is they possibly have the 3rd or 4th worst quarterback in the division. So that's going to be the big element. Like, I mean, how good is Jalen Hurts, and will he be able to take them where, their offseason acquisitions goal was to lead them? And right now, a lot of people are saying they have Super Bowl aspirations. They're trying to contend for a Super Bowl. So if that's the case, Jalen Hurts is going to have to prove that he can win games at the quarterback position. I mean, it's, some good rosters out there, but the Eagles, for that roster to really get going, you're going to have to see how good Jalen Hurts is. So that's the big elephant in the room for them. Obviously, just as the Giants we just talked about with Daniel Jones. So you have to wonder, is he ready for that primetime bump? Because last year he wasn't. I mean, the Eagles, they were scrappy last year and they added a lot. I mean, A.J. Brown's a big addition to the lineup. I think the running backs are pretty good, but I mean, for that lineup to succeed, I look at the Philadelphia Eagles and I think that they have to be a Tennessee Titans type of offense or type of team to kind of succeed this year, but I don't think they have a Derrick Henry in the room for Philadelphia. So that's one thing, with the running game they may be lacking, especially for the way their team is built. I mean, obviously Jalen Hurts can get rushing yards at the quarterback position, but, you still want him to, show more in the passing game. So with the Eagles, like I said, I like the roster. I like what they did this offseason. I mean, they were very aggressive, but in as far as the NFC East stacks up, I mean, I look at these teams. I mean, you would think that they probably, have the edge as the number 1 team in the NFC East. But between Washington, Dallas, and Philadelphia, I mean, not even being biased, but I think those teams, none of them have really separated as a bona fide number 1 team in the NFC East. So it's going to be a close race. But the Eagles may have the edge in the offseason right now as the number 1 team.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love the aggressiveness by Howie Roseman. I think he looked at his team they probably exceeded expectations when they made the playoffs. But he's like, this offseason, let's build off of that momentum. So they did whatever, whether it was through free agency, draft, trading. They went and got players, and not just, unknown commodities, but known commodities, from the Hassan Reddicks to, bringing back Fletcher Cox, to James Bradbury playing corner opposite of Darius Slade, to going and getting that star number one wide receiver in A.J. Brown. And then you talk about the moves in the draft with the Jordan Davis, being able to be rotational in their defensive packages with Fletcher Cox and Hargrave, playing alongside Cox, and then drafting Nakobe Dean to help out with their linebacking corps, as that's been one of their major flaws over the years. I think the key thing for me is I don't really understand Nick Sirianni's offensive scheme at all. It doesn't replicate what he was doing really with the Colts. I don't think it really plays to Jalen Hurts' strengths. I don't think Jalen Hurts is a bad quarterback. I just think that they don't put him in position to throw the ball enough, so the reps look like a person that don't really get to throw often, or know really what the game plan is passing wise. And that's the interesting part, is like when you now bring in A.J. Brown to go alongside Devontae Smith, who you drafted the year before with a top 15 pick, and then also Jalen Reagor, who's on the roster. You have Watkins, another wide receiver. Then you add Pascal in the mix with your tight end. It's like you have passing weapons, but your offense is not predicated off of the pass. It's more so off the run, and I don't really know what Miles Sanders really is. Like, he has a couple flashes here and there, but he, like Drake said, he ain't no damn Derrick Henry. So what type of offense are you going to run? But I mean, I think it's a very interesting roster. I like how aggressive, like I said, Howie Roseman was. I wish that's something that our team that we root for, Washington, would have been. When you make that playoffs, you got to go all in and try to get to the next level. Unfortunately, Ron and company didn't take those steps. They pretty much bringing back the same rosters with little wrinkles here and there. But, the Eagles definitely feel like they can be competitive, not only just in the NFC East, but in the NFC overall. So that's why they've made these aggressive moves to, get a pass rusher, go get another D tackle, go get an A.J. Brown, a dog at wide receiver, and say, let's go get him and see what we can put together.
Nick, where you at?
This could be the biggest disappointment in like the past 10 years, bro. This is probably one of the best off seasons I've seen somebody put together since I've been watching football, bro. Like, they really addressed every need they have, except for quarterback, of course. But you got two dog receivers. I think Miles is a solid running back. I think they drafted somebody. You got better on all three levels on the defense. I think they got somebody for O-line. Like, they went out and did everything possible to get better and be ready to compete. But Jalen Hurts if he hasn't done anything all season, it's going to be a long season, bro. Like, to know that you have that much talent and to start off, say they start off like 0-3. You're not supposed to be 0-3 because you have a great roster. Say the quarterback fucking up. All eyes on him. So it's just like, and I think their backup is Minshew. Yeah, he cool, but to come in possibly on a hot seat, that's hard to try to pick up a team like that. And I'm going to show you, Jimmy sent me something about one day Jalen Hurts having practice. 10-play scenario. It went like this: 3 picks,
Don't
3
send
picks,
that
4 incompletions, 3 sacks, bro. I was there, bro. I saw it all.
2 things. Three things. First thing, you're lying. You
Nah,
went. Second thing is check your source. Jimmy sent it because he wants to believe it. Third thing is A.J. Brown already came out and told you that was bullshit. He told everybody that was bullshit.
Of course, he going to back his boy up, bro.
All right, and other people at practice will probably say the same thing that A.J. Brown saying.
But the crazy part about the roster overall it's like if you put a different quarterback back there,
Super Bowl.
once again, you still don't know about the offensive scheme. So it's like that's the bigger question I think that a lot of people aren't addressing. They're trying to focus on Jalen Hurts, but anybody that watched the Eagles play last year is like, what the hell is this? Like, even the playoff game, it was like, what the fuck are y'all doing, bro? Like, did y'all even game plan for this shit?
But AJ, you kind of got we got video on Jalen Hurts dating back to college. I mean, the guy left Alabama because he wasn't going to unseat Tua, and he had to go to Oklahoma to play in the wide open Big 12. So he becomes a second round draft pick in the NFL, but I mean, he still hasn't looked that consistent as a passer. Again, we kind of, a lot of people still getting on Lamar Jackson about what he is as a passer at this point in the NFL career. And I think that's kind of the same thing you have with Jalen Hurts right now. So that's the biggest question. I mean, I understand, the scheme may be an issue, that you're mentioning, but I think a lot of people are also just noticing just inconsistencies with him when it's time for him to win a game as a passer.
Yeah, I mean, but if you even compare those two, Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts, they're both with offensive coordinators that don't like passing the ball. Everything is predicated off the run. They rather focus on that. And if you don't give those guys ample opportunity in game like preparation or whatever, it's going to be hard to show that you can throw the ball consistently. I mean, you can do whatever you want in practice, but if you're not doing it in the game where you can actually get sacked and hit, yeah, that shit not gonna look right.
Well,
I wish I could pull up
because I didn't want to get sidetracked, but I do want to bring, I guess, a point around it. Did you all think that Kaepernick was a good passer of the football?
No.
Like just, no. It's a
no.
AJ, you, I don't know what you said. If you said yes or no.
Oh, my bad. I was on mute. Nah, I didn't think he was like an elite passer.
Okay. The reason why I asked that question is, I mean, Greg Roman has a style. Like it is what it is, and he's always ran this power-based, run-heavy offense, and that's dating back to his days in San Francisco. He did it in San Fran. He did it when he went to Buffalo, and Tyrod Taylor was his quarterback, I think, at one point in Buffalo while he was there, and then obviously he's doing it in Baltimore. And I think the difference between what Greg Roman does and what Sirianni does is that Sirianni has proven that his offense is more versatile than what people are giving him credit to. I think the alternate perspective on Sirianni is understanding that he knows his personnel. Like, think about last year, his rookie season as a head coach. That man in that offense, bro, they're putting up 200 yards a game on the ground against anybody and everybody they wanted towards the tail end of that second half of the football season. Like, it was a different monster with that offensive line and what they were able to do at the point of attack in the trenches and all those things like that. And Jalen Hurts was a significant factor, and whoever the hell else was running the football, like, they're putting up 200 yards a game, and it was too easy for him. And I think when we talk about what they're able to do offensively, I'm not gonna lie to you. I wouldn't be surprised if you bring in the AJ Brown to go with Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith. You have your Dallas Goedert. You have these three key passing weapons, and then you bring in Zach Pascal, who's a dog in the run game, and you still continue to run it. I would not be surprised if they continue to do that and just have their opportunities here and there to target Devontae and AJ Brown. And AJ Brown is still good from what I remember in the run game too, as a run blocker. Like, I think that this is still a run-heavy offense, and he understands his personnel. And I only say that to say, if we're talking about what the head coach and what the offense wants to get accomplished, I think that they understand how good they can be if they stick to something that they're really good at, and that's running the football. I don't think you should change it. And to be honest with you, if we were to sit down and think about offenses that were run heavy in years past, there were some good quarterbacks that were on those lists. I would have to go through them, and I'll take a look when I stop talking. But there wasn't like all, like, what's the word? Profile
all
quarterbacks. Yeah, there weren't no profile quarterbacks like those. And that you have a picture in your head of who they are. Like there are some good quarterbacks with good arms in run heavy schemes, and that's kind of where I'm getting at. I think that this offense does work, and I think that these are the guys that Washington is going to have to look out for. Dallas is going to have to look out for, because if they're able to establish a run game and keep that momentum, carry it over from last year to this year, they're going to be able to take control of plenty of games this upcoming season. And it's a good roster, man. I'm not going to repeat everything that you all said. I agreed. It was a great offseason, but this is a really, I think it's a really good offense for the reasons I mentioned, run heavy.
I mean, I think they definitely probably going to run the same exact playbook. It's just with the addition of A.J. Brown, you can't put 8 men in the box. You now have to feel more threatened with that outside option alongside with Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert. What's crazy is if you look at like Jalen Hurts stats and Carson Wentz stats in comparison to each other from last season, they're damn near comparable. I mean, Jalen had 800 yards almost on the ground and 10 rushing touchdowns, but they damn near got the same stats. If you want to just look at stats, because that's what a lot of these fans do, they just look at the numbers and not the actual like breakdown of film and gameplay. They just refer back to stats. So I just thought that was interesting while everyone was talking.
Do we got any closing thoughts on the Philadelphia Eagles? As I'm looking like some of the quarterbacks that I was talking about, Kirk Cousins. I mean, obviously, you had your boy. What's that guy that got fired? he loved to run the football. And then obviously Matt Stafford. I should say Jared Goff in 2020 was one. He's a decent, I guess, a passer. I wouldn't necessarily say he's like one of the better quarterbacks, but these guys are in run heavy schemes, or predominantly run schemes and stuff like that. And that's just 2020. There was a couple other San Fran. I don't want to get too controversial with that guy, but Jimmy Garoppolo. He's better, I guess. It's safe to say he was better than what's the boy, Jalen Hurts. So
Ryan Tannehill. That's one.
I mean, I was gonna mention Tannehill, but that was a little I'm gonna do it for Ryan Tannehill. You know what I'm saying? He on that list too. They're a run heavy team as well. So there's a couple more. I left out Lamar Jackson on purpose. That was one of the obvious ones. And Seattle, to an extent, is one of the teams with Russell Wilson that ran heavy as well. So okay. Let's get into the dogs, man. Our dogs, at least. I'm gonna start with the Dallas Cowboys. Let's go ahead and get these suckers out the way. Let's see. Dallas, some of their transactions, they franchise tagged Dalton Schultz, re-signed Noah Brown to a 1-year contract. Somebody that you was really confused with, Nick. You didn't understand why he kept getting back, but he's back. You signed Leighton Vander Esch, I think, to a 1-year deal. Malik Hooker, 2-year contract. J-Ron Curse. You got your punter, 3-year deal. You know what I'm saying? Brian Anger. Cool guy, I guess. Jake Ferguson, you signed him. And then I'll let you fill in the rest in terms of any draft picks that are significant for you all. I know you didn't like, it was somebody that you didn't like in one of the earlier rounds, but I'll leave the floor to you to kind of fill in the gaps that I haven't mentioned with the offseason transactions for the Cowboys. But where do they stack up in this division? How do you see this thing playing out?
Our offseason wasn't the greatest. We got younger. Let go of some solid players. I think my biggest loss, to be honest, was Cedric Wilson. I think he was a solid piece that we let go, because we could have got him for the cheap, bro. He's a solid receiver for the cheap.
I'm over here looking at left out Cedric. I traded Amari. Y'all brought in James Washington and Dante Fowler and Luke Gifford. I don't know how I missed all of these guys, but you. Yeah,
I'm not sure.
The floor is back to you.
Yeah, but Lyle, big loss, kind of, sort of. Randy, I'm not too salty about losing Randy. Yeah, he's cool. I think he's more of a name than he is like really a hooper. Like I watch Randy. Don't get me wrong, he makes plays for sure, but I think we can replace his production with the group of guys that we have, because it's the way we run our defensive line. Everybody plays, you know what I'm saying, the same amount of snaps for real. So I mean, Randy cool, but I'm kind of glad he gone. I'm not gonna say glad, but I think we can replace him. Our receiving core, bro, is probably our biggest question mark. I do believe in CD minus the videos. I do believe in him. I believe in the guy we drafted, Jalen Tolbert. I think he's gonna be a dog. Small school, South Alabama. I think he had like 1,800 yards. With a bad quarterback. I'm talking about Cousins not good, but I see him having a nice little season. James Washington, I don't even know what to expect from Cuz, bro. All I seen him run in Pittsburgh was slants and flies, mainly because of Ben. But I just don't know. You said the tape looked good. I ain't seen the boy look good since maybe Oklahoma State, bro. Like he makes some plays, but I can't see it, bro. So he probably end up being a fourth option by the halfway, unless he ball out. Defensively, we didn't address cornerback too. We still got Anthony Brown in the team. He got to go. And we should have I'm cool with Tyler Smith bumping in the guard, but I think we should have got another center. Tyler Biadasz is cool, but he just don't do it for me. If he was maybe a guard, he don't have to control anything, but at center, he's just not that guy. But I do believe we're fighting for first place, of course. With all that being said, it kind of all comes down to Kellen Moore. Can he draw up plays that don't look like the plays we were running since 2010?
So what was that? What was the main? And let's rehash this. I'm sure we talked about it on all 32. But what was the main reason why that slide and those issues or those concerns started raising towards that second half? Not towards, in the second half of the season, with the OC and play calling, and obviously understanding how Dak kind of looked uncomfortable / didn't fit with whatever the hell was going on. How did all that kind of work out?
So apparently, Dak's injury was more than what was being said. I guess to protect him, you know what I'm saying, in a sense, because not have anybody like attack that leg and try to re-injure it. But Dak couldn't run at all, which is kind of his thing. When he runs, he can be a top 10 quarterback. When he doesn't run, he's probably top 15. And he just couldn't run, and you can tell like our playbook kind of got limited. He wasn't really moving in the pocket. He was kind of being the shell of himself, and we just didn't look like good offense. But at the same time, the same plays we were running in week 1 are the same plays we were running in the playoff game versus San Francisco. And it wasn't like a different variation. When I tell you, I can sit here and call almost every play we run by myself, sitting on the couch. If I can do that as a fan, I'm pretty sure people that get paid to watch our film can call our plays out. I feel like our playbook is very simple. We've been running the same thing since Jason Garrett, Scott Linehan, and it may be like a little more razzle dazzle here and there, but it's still the same concepts. It's still a lot of beat your man one-on-one instead of scheming them up. We don't run a lot of levels. We're just very simple and simple.
West Coast offense, bro. Traditional West Coast offense. Y'all move the ball left to right and not vertically.
I guess, but like we have players, and I feel like Amari's production over the past couple of years of, what I'm saying, yeah, he came out fire and blazing, but you don't do nothing to get your stars easy catches. Everything got to be complicated, hard. You know what I'm saying? You can't do that every game inside and out, but you got to make the game easy for your players if you want to be, you know what I'm saying? You call this boy Golden Boy, but he really some shit. Calling plays. So it comes down to him, and I mean, I don't see them getting rid of him. They just love him so much, and that's another problem in Dallas. That's why Noah Brown's still on the team. Don't know why.
He gonna get a head coaching job too. That's the funny part about it.
And I hope so. I mean,
it's gonna be Dallas. It's gonna be Dallas.
If he get the head coaching job,
it's either him or Sean Payton.
I'm turning him.
Like, like Nick said, he's a golden boy. He's a golden boy. He's gonna get a job somewhere.
Yeah, and
well, fellas, how y'all feeling? AJ or Dre, what y'all think about Dallas and and their chances. Nick said they fight for first place. He outlined, his reasons, but obviously, his boy Kellen Moore is at the top of his concern list. Where y'all at? Whoever wants to take the first stab
But
at that.
I'll go first because AJ probably got more to say than me. But I'll just say that I think I think there's a big loss with Amari Cooper. Personally, this is my personal opinion. I think Amari Cooper was the best wide receiver on the team. I just think Dallas wanted to feature CD more because he was the hyped up draft pick that they had that year. I thought they didn't feature Amari enough. I thought when they did feature Amari, he was a beast. Amari is a beast. Straight up. It was a reason why the Raiders were able to get a first round pick out of the Cowboys for Amari Cooper, because Amari Cooper, he's that dude. But when they got CD, he's the flashy guy. Jerry loves him. He gives him number 88. You got to be the new Michael Irvin, Dez Bryant. So Dallas started to feature CD more. Amari wasn't getting the looks that he should have gotten, but Amari can beat anybody one-on-one. Amari's a hell of a route runner. I thought he was a great wide receiver. So that's one thing you lose. And then the Michael Gallup extension, you look at Dallas, they signed Michael Gallup, re-signed him. Michael Gallup, he's hurt. He just he got the big injury this year, so I don't know when he's going to be available for Dallas. It may be like a Logan Thomas situation here in Washington, where he may be available in the first couple of weeks of the season, but he's hurt. So you lose him and Michael Gallup. Now there's a lot of pressure on CD. Now CD has to be the man, and then you got James Washington. He has to have a bigger responsibility here in Dallas now that he didn't have in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh had a few wide receivers, so that's one group that you look at on Dallas. You say you got weaker. In my opinion, you got weaker there at the wide receiver position. And so that is something that's big for Dak Prescott. I think they also lost La'el Collins this past offseason. He was a big piece in the offensive line. So in the offensive line, it is something that Dallas has kind of prided themselves on, these last few years. They've had one of the best offensive lines in football. So now you're starting to see some of the pieces around Dak Prescott kind of deteriorate. And I kind of look at Dak Prescott in the Kirk Cousins tier of quarterbacks. Like, these quarterbacks, they're really good for your franchise, but do they uplift your franchise? Do they make everyone else around them better? They're kind of quarterbacks that kind of need a perfect surrounding and setting around them to kind of succeed. So with Dak Prescott's supporting cast kind of deteriorating around him, you kind of wonder, can he kind of carry this Cowboys offense and make them better? Because Zeke, he gets paid the big bucks, but he hasn't been this great like MVP candidate that that he's kind of getting paid for. Like you when you're paying Zeke the money that you're paying Zeke, he's not kind of producing up to that level at the running back position. So now you're kind of looking at Dak to say, hey, Dak, you have to put more, you have to do more for this Cowboys franchise. Now you have to kind of prove the bucks you're getting. Now you have to be the franchise guy. So in the NFC East, when you look at all four teams, every situation you're kind of looking more at the quarterback for every team to say, you guys have to do more. Now, Carson Wentz, he has to prove himself. Daniel Jones, he's in a make-or-break year. Jalen Hurts is in a make-or-break year. And now Dak Prescott is in a position where he has to kind of do more for the Cowboys to kind of keep them, at expectation level or above expectation level. So he's the big key. And then, you look at the defensive side of the football, Randy Gregory, as Nick was talking about earlier, that's a guy, that's a big loss in my opinion. I thought Randy Gregory was a beast, but you still had Micah Parsons. So, they're going to have to be, I think, to me, the strength of the Dallas team, because the offense has lost a couple of pieces. So, yeah. And if I'm looking at it, and we already talked about it, 1 to 3, I think no one is really separating. Dallas is somewhere in there. They're going to be somewhere within. They're going to either be the best team or they can be the third best team in the NFC East right now. So that's how I see it.
AJ.
Yeah, man. I think Dre hit on some very key points, especially, when you look at the NFC East as a whole. I think it really should be called the year of the quarterback, because it's so much riding on these quarterbacks that are going to be starting for these franchises. I definitely like the James Washington move. I think he can be a dog within that system. It gives him more opportunities to run a different route tree.
Got Big Ben at quarterback even.
Yeah, so he don't have that noodle arm at quarterback. I think he's going to be a slept on free agent pick. I think he's definitely going to blossom within that offense alongside CD Lamb. I think he's very explosive. I just think you didn't really get to see it that much in Pittsburgh, but this is going to provide him a great opportunity. I just think overall they're bringing back the same team, minus, big losses with Collins now being with the Cincinnati Bengals and Amari Cooper now being a Cleveland Brown. So many people hate on Amari Cooper, like Dre said, but dude is one of the best route runners in the league in the last, I don't even know, 10 years, but he's like my top 3 route runners in the NFL, and that's key. I think a lot of times we evaluate the wide receiver position incorrectly and just think it's about speed and height. But if you can get off the line of scrimmage and you can run routes, it doesn't matter who's facing you. You're always going to be open. And that's a big thing for defenses to have to key on. And now with CeeDee Lamb being the number 1 wide receiver before we started the show, I was talking about like just him even doing his workouts, line of scrimmage, like getting off. That shit was so slow. He's not scaring nobody. So now defenses, no longer have to worry about Amari on one side and CD on another side, and then Michael Gallup. They're now going to put 8 in the box and say, hey, Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott, y'all beat us, because we don't even believe in Dak to beat us with his arm. We're not threatened by CeeDee Lamb. We don't even know when Gallup is coming back. Like, I haven't really heard much on his injury stuff, but I just think the linebacker corps was still not fixed with Dallas. Surprised that they didn't pursue Bobby Wagner. The back end, you got Trayvon Diggs, who playmaker, like a ball hawk, but also gives up 1,000 yards in receiving. That's huge. And you also don't have like the best second corner in Anthony Brown. Your back end, you're dependent on Malik Hooker. And I don't even know who's playing strong safety this year. Is it Israel?
Javon Curse. No, what's funny is Javon Curse is
Javon
probably he might be our second best defender after Michael Parsons. Like Cuz hoop, bro. He's more like he's kind of like a star. He's like a fast linebacker that just foul.
No, he can play. He can play. I definitely watched him a lot in Minnesota. Matter of fact, I was with one of his teammates over the weekend. He was raving about him and his opportunity in Dallas. I mean, at the end of the day, I just feel like they're bringing back the same team, just with older offensive line. They also lost Collins, and on top of that, they lost Amari Cooper, and that team didn't get them to the level that they wanted to be and where they wanted to compete. So how is this new team going to do so? Then on top of that, we ain't even talk about Mike McCarthy, the main motherfucker making all the calls on the fly, the in-game adjustments, the lack of time management and just game management as a whole. That's an even huger issue, because
that's a great point, AJ. That's a great point.
He's not it. He's not it at all. So it's just like, that's not going to change. His mentality as a head coach is not going to change. That's who Mike McCarthy has been. And then it made it worse when he got fired. He started doing more analytical shit, and it's just going to continue, because he's in a fight for his head coaching career as well. Because at the end of the day, it's already rumors that Sean Payton is supposed to be the head coach next year, and they're going to try to do whatever in their power to get him away from New Orleans Saints and possibly trade picks, or Kellen Moore, the guy that you don't like, Nick, the OC, could be elevated. Bro. But I mean, Mike McCarthy's in a position where his back is against the wall, so it's a tough thing overall. If Dallas starts losing some games early in the season, it can look real ugly. It could get real ugly real fast out there. Because I really don't see them having like a put together offense to really like compete with them boys. I think a lot of the numbers that they put up last year was because they was down so much.
Now, addition by subtraction can be a good thing, but when you subtract away what Dallas did, I don't think that's in no way, shape, or form a good thing in terms of bringing back your team minus some of your key players at that, heading into a new season. And that's unfortunate, but I I'm going to transition to Washington just for the time constraints on our side. And I'm going to take the first stab at Washington. So let me go ahead and run through the list and go from there. So Washington re-signed Bobby McCain this offseason, released Landon and Shazer Everett, also released Eric Flowers, Matt Ioannidis, re-signed Tyler Lawson, Troy Apke, signed Cam Sims, Andrew Norwell, and obviously we mentioned Bobby McCain. We re-signed, Cornelius Lucas, Trey Turner. We signed him. Also signed Danny Johnson, and obviously traded for Carson Wentz, the quarterback, the new quarterback for the Washington Commanders. Obviously, they got listed that we find Jack Del Rio $100K in here. So yeah, we find Jack Del Rio $100,000 for some comments that he made at a podium. So with that being said, the surface level transactions are what they are. As in terms of Washington and how they stack up in the NFC East, I think some key things that they have, I'll say what they have going for them and what they have going against them. What they have going for them is an offense that's kind of set in place and in need of a quarterback who can get these receivers the football. The one overstatement or overstated opinion in saying that they never had that or they didn't have that last year is not necessarily entirely true, because the one quarterback that they had that could push the ball down the field actually just got hurt. Taylor Heineke was not slated to be the starter for the Washington football team back then. It was Ryan Fitzpatrick. So even though that's a moot point, it just talks about what they're trying to get accomplished. And I think that's the more important thing, is that Scott Turner knows what he wants to do with the offense. And when you talk about how they fare roster wise, I think that they are set offensively to kind of at least take some of the weight off of the defensive shoulders, because I don't see the defense for Washington being able to have that responsibility that they had last year and keep them in games all by themselves. I think this is going to be a team effort. And when I say team effort, I mean, that's the obvious sense, right? But when I say team effort for Washington, I'm saying we've always come across think about the highlight years. 2012, the offense carried the defense. 2015, the offense carried the defense. 2016, same thing. Offense carried the defense. When we're talking about like these playoff seasons and expectations the following years, obviously offense or a unit carrying the other unit. And that's the same thing that happened in 2021. A unit potentially carrying the unit. And last year it was the defense carrying the offense, and underwhelming defense at that. And when you're bringing back essentially everybody and you lose Matt Ioannidis, you lose Tim Settle, you bring in Fedarian, who I'm a big fan of, and we've said that I've said that 1,000 times. I'm a big fan of Fedarian, but you have your question marks on the second level with Jamin Davis and Cole Holcomb combined together. You don't necessarily know what you're getting. I think that they'll play well because of Fedarian, but until we see it, you don't know what you're getting because of how they played last year. It was underwhelming just from a whole defensive standpoint. And I say all that to say, these guys have some question marks defensively, but I think that the offense heading into this season has something going for them from a production standpoint. I think that these guys have a quarterback whose mindset is attack. And when you have that situation with a guy who has that mindset, but also has the strength and the capacity to get that done, I think that you can challenge a lot of defenses and have a lot of big play potential throughout a game and provide that spark that your team needs. And for Washington in the NFC East, I think that they're, and this is probably going to hurt some people, hurt some people's feelings, but it's okay. I think that their floor, you're looking at 6 wins with the Washington Commanders, but your ceiling is as high as 11. It's literally that huge of a gap. And I think the floor is for a larger discussion that we're not having, or I didn't intend to have today, but the floor is a lot to do with managing the team and being able to coach this team and get these people in the right position to win. But obviously the ceiling is if everything aligns up the way that they projected this offseason, having these pieces in place, because we see what they want to do, but can they get it done on the field? And that's why I think their ceiling can be 11 wins. But we're looking at a first place battle, second place primarily, but first place is where you can kind of shoot for the stars. That's where that ceiling hits at 11 wins. So that's kind of where I'm at with the Commanders.
I mean, I think with the Commanders, they damn near in the same position as the Dallas Cowboys. They just haven't made the necessary moves, in my opinion. Like they brought back the same damn team, and the two positions that they did address, as far as quarterback and wide receiver, are the unknowns. You don't know what Carson Wentz you about to get, and even the greatest Carson Wentz still ain't adequate enough, in my opinion. So. Like, and then you bring in Jahan Dotson to play alongside Curtis Samuel and Terry McLaurin. You don't know what you about to get out of Jahan Dotson. I mean, I look at him as a slot wide receiver, but like you just said, Mual, with Carson Wentz being an attack guy, what also comes with that type of quarterback play is a lot of interceptions and turnovers. I recently, last week, I don't know, I was kind of bored in the house, went on YouTube, found Kurt Warner had like a 30-minute breakdown video of just Carson Wentz game week 18 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And because of that mentality of just attacking downfield, Kurt Warner I posted it on Twitter, and Kurt Warner, he responded back.
Boy, fans was on your ass, bro. Like you just have.
I don't be seeing these notifications, good. So that shit don't even be phasing me. I don't because here's the reality, and I pointed it out on Twitter. Is like Washington Commanders fans are only rooting. They're now in favor of Carson Wentz play because he's now their quarterback. If he was not their damn quarterback, they would call him the bottom tier quarterback in the league. And it's like you can't be that biased. You have to look at shit in a realistic standpoint. I mean, I was on a space like a couple days ago. I guess they got the commander and whatever the fuck they want to call it. One of the guys got like really mad because I said, you got to be realistic. And I'm not saying, your football knowledge is more than mine or I have more than you. It's just like fans, especially with the Commanders, aren't being realistic. Carson Wentz is a lower tier quarterback. The best version of him is still not good enough. And he's in a situation where he's playing for his career. We already don't know what Scott Turner brings as an offensive coordinator. We don't even know what type of offense this dude really wants to run. Like, the shit is all over the place. And now you also get rid of your left guard and Eric Flowers to bring in Andrew Norwell. Yeah, he was elite at one time, but that was one time. Carson Wentz was one time considered an MVP candidate. That was years ago. So you don't even know what type of offensive line you bring it back. And a lot of people say, with the Colts, like they don't have the best pass blocking offensive line. Well, that's because Carson Wentz is holding on to the damn ball. Like, if you look at the film, bro, like the dude either will bypass open guys in the flats or open guys on comeback routes to try to push the ball downfield in like triple coverage, or he'll hold on to the ball too long and get sacked. So why do we think that's going to change here in Washington? And we don't even have any familiarity with him. Like, you could say all you want to right now. I've been consistent, and I think you, Mual, and Dre, y'all can back me up. I don't believe in this opportunity for Carson Wentz, and that's why I'm excited because the season's about to start. I feel like I'm gonna be proven right, and I'm gonna get back on this motherfucker and talk my shit. Because at the end of the day, I just don't see. I don't see what some of the fans see. I don't see what Ron Rivera sees. I don't see what him and Joe Gibbs sat down and talked about and what they see that makes them think that this is going to work. But overall, Washington's bringing back the same team. They didn't address the linebacker position. They still got the same exact coaching staff. Like, yeah, it's just a new year. That's it.
So
look, let's mix it because I want Nick to go first, and I want Dre to finish this.
Okay. Yeah.
I want Dre to finish this. Go ahead, Nick.
I mean, AJ done said everything I was going to say, bro. He took the words right out of my mouth. I mean,
AJ sound like a Cowboy fan, Nick.
I sound like a realist.
Everything he said was completely true, bro. And I told Maul this on the show. I said basically you got Carson Wentz coming to a team, well, leaving a team that I feel like is better than the Commanders are currently built. You got one of the best run games. Their receiving core is pretty solid, and they got better coaching. And he still couldn't get it done when it mattered the most. And he's about to come to a squad slightly less talented. Receiving core might be a little bit better. Now I think about it. But Carson's just not that guy, bro. Like I don't see y'all defense getting a lot of turnovers to give him easy fields. It might have he's not that guy to dink and dunk down the field. He's not gonna be that guy that, you know what I'm saying, oh, I'll just take this check down and, you know what I'm saying, live to another play. He's gonna hold that ball and wait for Jahan to get past 3 defenders. And if he don't, he gonna close his eyes, throw a pair, take a sack. And that's what he do, bro. In Philly, like, bro, his last 18 games in Philly, he was just holding the ball, waiting for Nelson Aguilar to get down the field. And it's just like, bro, take the check down, bro. You don't need the big play every time. What you trying to go to the field for? And Carson, I mean, coming out of school, I thought Carson was gonna be great. I was like, dang, Philly got a good one. And started off looking good, but he just ever since once he lost Frank Wright and got whoever he had for those couple of years, he just kind of his progression just kind of dwindled down. But Washington, I can see y'all maybe getting second place, probably sneaking into the wild card. But it kind of comes down to Carson Wentz. But Carson Wentz has to play extraordinary for y'all to really do something, because running game is not going to be that good. Antonio Gibson, he's not a dog. I mean, he all right.
He's not even half of Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, and
that's why I'm like, that's where I'm even more confused about the fans thinking this is really gonna work. Like Jonathan Taylor had almost 2,000 yards.
Yep. And he played in the division where 2 of the teams, I think they picked top 5. And I believe this division is a lot better. So he'll, of course, have a couple more harder games. I think his only sweet games might be the Giants. And we really don't know what they're going to be, because we don't know what Daniel Jones or Tyrod will be like with that. And they got weapons. So if they get in a shootout, Ken Carson, it's a lot of answers, bro. And then y'all secondary, y'all kind of just like us without Trayvon Diggs. Y'all got Will Jackson and Kendall Phillips. Who y'all safeties? I'm not exactly sure.
Bobby McCain and Cam Curl.
Basically the same boat. So I'm not gonna say I don't really have too many high hopes for the Commanders this year. Then y'all got a lot of internal shit going on. Who knows how y'all defense is going to respond to y'all coach? Like, who knows? Your coach might say something wild because they're not doing what they tell him to do. He might call him the wrong word, bro, because he upset. So I just don't know what to expect from the Commanders. It's just a lot going on up top, bro, and I feel like that trickles down because the players got to answer to that eventually. And it's going to come up. Oh, your owner's doing this, and nobody want to talk about that shit. They want to play football and win games, but they got other shit to worry about because of other people up top. So y'all can honestly be from 2 to 4. It just depends on what happens, bro. It's really
Drake,
I don't even know.
Drake, where you at?
Yeah, Drake.
All right, I'm gonna save you. Drake, where you at?
Look, I'm just gonna say this about the whole Carson Wentz debate. There's an intriguing thing that is kind of like, making me want to see where this Carson Wentz thing is, because I'll tell you this, like AJ had a point in that if Carson Wentz didn't play for the Commanders, we would be talking shit about Carson Wentz. Like, we would think bad about Carson Wentz. But here's the thing, as everyone has kind of pointed out about Carson Wentz in this podcast so far, is that Carson Wentz is an attack quarterback, right? So what system has Carson Wentz played in his whole career? He's played in a West Coast offense his whole career, which is we do a short passing game to kind of set up the long passing game. That's the offense he's played in. This is Carson Wentz's first time playing in an Air Coryell offense, which as a Washington football fan, you should know as a attacking football offense, which is supposed to be Carson Wentz's strength as a quarterback, right? He's supposed to be this quarterback that's supposed to be able to attack the deep ball. Now he's playing in a descendant of the Air Coryell offense, which is the attacking style of football play. So I know, as Washington Commanders fans, a lot of people have, especially AJ, we're going to mention him, he's on the show. He's been really critical of Scott Turner. And Scott Turner, is a guy that some people like myself has kind of said, all right, well, I want to see what he can do with a quarterback that's better than Taylor Heineke or better than a one-legged Alex Smith or that's better than Dwayne Haskins, who, rest in peace, God bless his soul, never showed that he was ready to play at a starting NFL level in the NFL. So that's the quarterbacks that Scott Turner has kind of had to deal with in his 2 years in Washington. So Carson Wentz, he may not be that guy that we look at as a top tier guy or, a guy that's somewhere in the top 10, maybe even top 12, but he's been a guy, regardless of kind of what AJ has said, when he played his best, he was almost an MVP candidate. And his best was a few years ago, so we can't kind of rely on that. We can't rely on Carson Wentz to get back to that level. But he also isn't this, turnover-worthy or turnover-prone guy. I mean, his worst season was 2020 in Philadelphia. That was the last season he played in Philadelphia. That was his worst statistical season in the NFL, and that's why Philadelphia decided to kind of move on from Carson Wentz and went to Indianapolis. So he goes to Indianapolis. He throws 7 interceptions. Those analytics might say he could have thrown more. But if you look at his kind of overall stat sheet, he's never really thrown that many interceptions in a season. So he's not really that big of a – I think that's kind of like one of those myths that he's this turnover quarterback. He doesn't commit that many turnovers. Considering, maybe the bar is low here, but in Washington terms, he doesn't commit the turnovers that we've seen from Washington quarterbacks. So that's a guy, Carson Wentz, we want to see what he can do here with Washington in a new offense. He's not with Frank Reich. He's not under Doug Peterson or those guys that he's played for his whole career, which kind of, grooms the West Coast offense. So we want to see him in a Air Coryell style offense, which is more of his strengths. This is more of his strengths. But again, going back to AJ's point, as a Washington fan, you can't get too optimistic about Carson Wentz. You have to keep everything in perspective. Like, you have to say, well, this guy has been dumped 2 years in a row by 2 different teams. You can't expect him to come here and just be great. So that's where I go back to the NFC East quarterbacks in the room, the elephants in the room with the quarterbacks. Everyone in the NFC East has to kind of prove themselves a quarterback, and Carson Wentz is one of those guys. I do think he's had a bad rep. However, he still has a lot to prove, and Washington can't be considered a real contender until Carson Wentz kind of, proves that he's a guy that can be a franchise quarterback in this league, and he has 1 year to do so here. Now, as far as the defensive side of the football goes, you lost Matt Ioannidis, you lost Tim Settle. But, in the NFL, how many teams can you look at? Yeah, Landon Collins. Even though you kind of lost him early last year because of his injury. And he just had a good stretch of games once they kind of moved the personnel with the Buffalo nickel. He started to play better with that. That was the best stretch of his career in the Washington Commander uniform, in my opinion. But, when you look at the defense as a whole, the defensive line was disappointing last year. You had you had a lot of first round picks. Jonathan Allen, he was a beast, but Deron Payne, he didn't kind of quite live up to his expectations. Chase Young and Montez Sweat, they didn't do what you expected them to do, at the defensive end position. So you need more out of those guys. We know we need more out of the linebacker position. And then the secondary. I do think we have a couple of pieces in the secondary that can be decent. AJ, your boy Ben St. Juste, I think if he stays healthy, he's a guy that the team probably finally gets the production they expect out of him. They liked him last year, and they're liking him this year from what I'm hearing out of practice. So he's a guy that you have to look forward to, and hopefully he stays healthy. He can do what they want him to do. Kendall Phillips always been a solid cornerback in the NFL. He may not be one of the best. William Jackson was one of the best when they signed him out of free agency, but he didn't have such a good season. So he has to kind of adapt under this new system that he's playing with Washington. He has to get comfortable there. Safeties, I like Cam Carroll. Cam Carroll's a good box safety, but Bobby McKean had an up and down last year, free safety. So that back end's a little questionable. Obviously, the linebacker is the weakest of the group, but they have to respond to Jack Del Rio, as Nick was saying. I mean, I may not be so much worried about if they are going to respond to him because of his comments and stuff, because some of those guys in the locker room, they don't seem too political savvy. So they just don't really care what Jack Del Rio has been saying. Like, we have all kind of discussed this before in the sense that saying that, you know, fuck Jack Del Rio. He's been, you know, you probably should have fired him. But when you kind of listen to the players talk, it doesn't seem to be that big of a deal to them. Like, this is nothing they really worry about. So I may not be too concerned about how they may respond to Jack Del Rio as a coach, just because, you know, they may not be into the political savvy stuff as, you know, a much older person would be. So, I mean, but again, as we kind of talked about with the NFC East, I look at Washington as one of those teams. They could finish first, but they can also finish third, or there might be one of those teams that could finish fourth in this division. So it just all depends on how good the quarterback play is this year, and if they've solved some of the defensive issues they had last year.
Yeah, I mean, and I just want to say real quick before Mual, you know, gives his point and closes up the show. If you have time, the last time we seen Carson Wentz play, Week 18, go to YouTube, type in Kurt Warner and Carson Wentz, and that shit is terrible quarterback play. Of course, quarterbacks have bad games, but, I mean, that was with a playoff berth on the line. Like, I'm talking about running back in the flat, 15 yards of space. He's not even looking that way. Like, Kurt Warner's even like, you know, you can't read defense. It really looked like a quarterback that could not read defenses at all. Like, it was pretty bad. So you got opportunity to look at it, you know, definitely utilize that 30 minutes and you'll be like, oh shit, what the hell are we getting that quarterback?
Yeah, and them picks he was throwing though, they might have been 7, but they was probably the worst picks I ever
They were
seen.
the worst picks. That one pick against the
Cardinals, bro.
No, it's Cardinals, it's the Titans that went in the end zone with like a minute 54. The 1 minute 54, he just literally was going to get sacked. He just threw the ball up.
Yeah, bro. I'm like
what the hell? Like, bro, you a veteran quarterback. Like that, those are things that you're not supposed to do. That's why I'm like, I'm so scared during the season as a fan. Like, God, please don't let me have no heart attack, nothing. Like, because I mean, I just don't understand how that was the answer for them quarterback wise. Once you can't get Russell Wilson, it's like, oh shoot. Well, we talked to Joe Gibbs in Charlotte, and you know, we told him about Carson Wentz, and we just went at it. And it's like now people are trying to tell me that Carson Wentz is better than Matt Ryan. Like, get the fuck out of here, bro.
Nah,
like, let's not do that.
I had a question. I had a question for Dre, but he dipped off, bro. But who? I mean, technically, who were y'all other options if y'all didn't get Carson Wentz? Who else was out there, like, potentially?
I personally feel like Washington was too aggressive after failing on getting Russell Wilson. I think they could have sat back and let things play out. Like, as you see the deals that were done for other quarterbacks, whether it be the Matt Ryans, the Baker Mayfields, or whatever the case
AJ, would you
is.
be really happy with Matt Ryan as the?
I would have been way happier with Matt Ryan. If you look at Matt Ryan, he's really been playing with nothing. Like, they don't even have a running game. They've had no running game over the past couple of years, like 2-3 years.
Yeah, but he's had some of the best receiving options in NFL history. He's had Julio Jones, Roddy White.
The defense also knows that they're throwing the ball, and then on top of that, their defense is poo-poo. Like, who's been on the defensive side of the ball? Like, AJ Terrell just started playing better.
We talking about the offense.
But I'm just saying,
he had a bad team all around. Like,
he had a bad team overall, yeah. But it's like, I think this team needed a leader at quarterback and someone that could also still pass the ball and read defenses. I think Matt Ryan, Dre, let's be honest. I think if Washington had Matt Ryan as quarterback with the same roster and add Jahad Dotson, you would confidently feel like even if the defense plays average, this team would still be the number 1 team in the NFC East. Whereas with Carson Wentz, you don't know what the hell it is. You just said they could be number 1 or number 4.
But that's anybody in the NFC East. Almost.
Nah,
just about anybody in the NFC. The Giants are the only team we have slated at number 4 in the NFC East. But we're sitting up here, like Nick just said, with the Philadelphia Eagles. We're talking about the Philadelphia Eagles as a team that could be the biggest disappointment in the NFC East. If they don't play look, would you be surprised outside of Dallas, maybe? I'll say outside of Dallas, would you be surprised if any team in the NFC East finishes 4th in the division?
Would I be surprised?
The Eagles, for sure.
Because the Eagles, you could just say that they have Jalen Hurts at quarterback. That's why they didn't do what they were supposed to do. Okay, Washington has Carson Wentz. Giants has Daniel Jones. So would you be surprised if anybody finished 4th in the NFC outside of Cowboys? And that's only because of the Cowboys media.
I think with the Eagles roster, I think honestly with any quarterback, they can at least go. What's not 50% down, but they could at least go 9-8, 8-9 with any quarterback. Their roster is really set up to be
fair,
pretty damn good. Like, and 8-9 will get you at least third, second place in our division. So they're the only us and them are probably the only teams I'd be like, oh, if they finish 4th, we finish 4th. Something drastic happened. Like half the people they brought in had to get hurt for the Eagles. Like they're stacked literally everywhere. So I'd be sick as a Philly fan because you go in with the hype of all this 4th place.
But I mean, I think if you're a Philly fan and your team finished 4th place, at least you could still say, hey, they were aggressive and added pieces. You feel me? Whereas with Washington as a fan, I'm like, we ain't do shit. We ain't add nothing.
Nah.
They would burn Lincoln Field down.
I'd rather have those pieces.
Hard, bruh, like we've had tons of examples of teams going that hard and not winning it, and they're like, these fucking idiots. Like we've had that happen. And I just think that it just depends on how it unfolds. But if it's like a fall flat on your face type of situation, that's the reaction you'll get. If you barely miss the playoffs, you'll have a slightly lesser reaction, a negative reaction, but it'll still be a negative reaction nonetheless. It won't be a positive or taking positives, trying to find the positive in a full negative situation. I don't know. I don't think it's gonna be that sweet. Like at least they tried their best type thing. I don't think you're getting that.
I think the Eagles fan are at least looking for a 10-win season minimum.
I mean, they set the expectations with how hard they went in this offseason. So I'm with you.
10-win minimum. But would they get it?
With your acquisitions.
I don't know.
I don't know. Listen. Up next, training camp. We will be checking back in shortly. So yeah, until next time. Peace.
Damn, set, hut, watch him throw the ball. We gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through 4th and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Dive.